Look, I'm the biggest advocate for making sure your data is backed up securely and to multiple places. However, I really don't follow my own advice when it comes to backing up photos I take on my phone. Whether this is because I use my actual camera for photography or because I'm a lazy piece of shit is yet to be determined. Now, I know what you guys are already thinking. Brett, did you really make a video about how to back up your photos to iCloud? No. We wear our tinfoil hats around here, and we wouldn't be caught dead trusting big daddy corporations with our invaluable collection of memes and cat pics. So today, I'm going to show you how I'm self-hosting my own cloud photo backup solution using Photoprism and Photosync. So to get started, we're going to need a few things. The main two things are a server to host Photoprism and the Photosync app on your phone. If you plan on being able to access this remotely, then you'll want to follow one of my guides for setting up a reverse proxy. I'll leave links in the description below for those. So first, let's get started with Photoprism. Photoprism is an AI-powered app for browsing, organizing, and sharing your photo collection and can be hosted on many different devices from a Raspberry Pi to a local server to a cloud VPS. Today, we'll be spinning it up on my backup server using my already running Docker instance. Now, I'm not going to go through getting Docker set up because I feel like you guys are tired of seeing me do that in every single video. Photoprism has installation guides for all kinds of different setups. Docker, Docker Compose, Cloud, FreeBSD, Bananas, NAS devices, you get it. I went with Docker Compose because that's my jam, so let's take a look at my setup. Now, the devs have done a good job at providing us an easy to use template with lots of comments to make you feel even dumber when you eventually mess up. So like I mentioned, I'm using my already existing Docker instance where I've installed Docker as well as Portainer, which is my choice for a Docker orchestrator. So jumping right in, you'll see I'm only hosting a few things here. Let's go into the template I used. And like I said, it is a Docker Compose YAML, and I know this looks intimidating. Don't worry, this is almost exactly copy and pasted from the Photoprism setup guide. So here you can see it's just loading in the default Photoprism service using the latest image. Depends on our MariaDB service. So you scroll down and get to the ports. You can decide whatever port you want to do. Internally, it uses 2342. Environment variables, here's where you'll set up your password. You can set limits here. There's a lot of Boolean variables. So if you go through these, if you want to disable some features, you can specify that here. Some not safe for work content, you can do that to where it can detect things like that and block them. But I'm a perfect little angel. I would never upload not safe for work content. Database driver, you can go with MariaDB or MySQL. You can set passwords in here. Obviously, these wouldn't be the passwords you would use, but you can replace them with your own. Site titles, site captions, all that can be specified here. Down here into volumes is where you want to specify where exactly you want your storage to be stored. So in my case, I'm using a binding mount within Docker to mount to a large ZFS pool. Wherever you want to store your photos, specify that here, and then it will translate to the internal directory within Photoprism. Down here in MariaDB service, I really didn't touch anything except changing the passwords, and unless you want to do something special, I'd recommend just leaving it as is. And now this section is optional. This is Watchtower. What it's meant to do is upgrade services automatically, but again, you can choose to do that or not. I've just left that off by default. Then just run your template, whether you're using Portainer or Docker Compose upd, and it will be running just like this. So what do you get when you spin this up? Well, this is the UI. This is my Photoprism instance running. And by default, you'll probably have nothing in here because you just set it up. But here you can see I have a couple of pictures that I've used to upload to test it out. And honestly, for what it is a really good solution to store photos. Now, it's not perfect, but it is self-hosted, and you do have quite a lot of options to customize your backups with the Photosync app. I will get to that in a minute, but is it perfect? No, absolutely not. We're going to walk through and I'm going to show you what I like about it and some things that I wish it had or wish they would upgrade on. So by default, you're going to see all your photos here that are uploaded. You have the ability to sort them into albums. So I just created an iPhone Pics album where when my photos come in, I can send them to the iPhone one. And obviously, if you have need for more albums, you can certainly create as many as you want and sort them here, which is really cool. The one thing that I wish it had right off the bat is that when you go into an album, there's no way to create nested albums. So for a lot of people, you might want an album for each year. And then within each year, you might want separate albums for different occasions. And from what I'm seeing here, there's no way to actually do that. Luckily, we'll skip ahead to calendar, which kind of does that. So you can see it organizes all the photos taken on the time they were uploaded. Well, not uploaded. It takes the metadata from when the picture was taken. So considering I have just messed with this in the last couple of days, that wouldn't make sense to have a photo uploaded in January. So yeah, it takes the metadata of the photo and organizes them by default into monthly kind of pseudo albums. You can also work with videos. If you want to upload videos as well, it's not strictly meant for just photos, so keep that in mind. People, this is one of their AI kind of things where it can detect people's faces and organize your pictures by the person. You can disable this if you want, but I tested it out. It's not that great. Adobe Lightroom does a much better job at recognizing people's faces. So here you can see my lovely fiance. It detected her in 3 photos. Cool. So if I go back to my search, you'll see that she is in more than 3. And I guess I'm just not a person because it didn't even detect me. I'm not a person. Okay, so yeah, the face detection thing isn't that great, but that's not really a feature I care too much about. Favorites, you can favorite different photos. Obviously, it does what it says it is. I'm not going to go into that. So moments, this is another one of its AI things. So it says your library is continuously analyzed to automatically create albums of special moments, trips, and places. So it will take the metadata if, say, you go somewhere far away or whatever, and you take a bunch of photos in a single location. It will see that probably as like a trip or something and put it into its own little, again, pseudo album called Moments. Now, you'll look back here and see that, yeah, I have a bunch of photos that look like it should have done it. But the thing is, these you can see were taken with my actual camera, meaning that there's no location metadata on those photos. So it doesn't really see it as a trip if there's no location metadata. However, for these, you can see that there is location metadata because they were taken with my iPhone. So do with that information what you will. So continuing on, I showed you the calendar, showed you that it organizes based on when the photo was taken. Oh wait, can I even get out of this now? Uh-oh, how do I, oh no, I think we broke it. Okay, we saw that. Places, you can click on that, and if you have metadata, it is going to show you where these photos were taken. I'm not gonna let it zoom in all the way because I don't want you perverts knowing exactly where I took the photos because it is an exact location on the map. So you can get a general feel for where those photos were taken. Labels, so here you can see it creates automatic labels for some pictures. Thinks, I guess I'm not a person, I'm a building. I mean, I have been working out a bit, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a building. Limousine, I don't see a limousine in this picture. Caught a moment, I guess, but it didn't show up here. Kind of strange. Portraits. It says there's 7 pictures in portraits. That looks right. That looks right. These look right. Maybe that's a portrait. So if we click on this photo, we can go in and see the metadata for this, and we'll see that it gave it a title, and over here under labels, that is where you see portrait. And if we don't think it's a portrait, then we can delete this. And you can see its confidence is 45% because it did it through AI. We didn't put that label in here manually. So let's go ahead and remove that. And then back to metadata, you can see all the different metadata that's in here. You are free to edit every single thing that's in here if you want to change it. If you want to add subjects, descriptions, it added keywords of brown, I guess because there's brown in the picture. If you wanted to add more like outside, nature, then you can apply. So now if I did a search over here and I wanted to search on nature, boom, it keys off of the keyword and here are my nature photos. And apparently there's only one because I'm an introverted nerd who stays inside. Folders, you can also have different folders. This is the one that I use that was auto-created for my iPhone. When I upload, it uploads them to iPhone/recents. Private, you can set photos to private to where only certain users can see them or access them, you know, for banana pics and whatnot. Library, so here are all the photos that are seen directly from within your library. So when you import, every single one of them is going to show up here in a different kind of view. You can also see a folder because the folder is part of the library itself. And it's just another view to see what is actually in your entire library. Hidden, for some reason, this is hidden. I guess it didn't upload correctly. This is a TIFF file, I believe, which sometimes it has issues with. And errors. Here's where you can see any errors. This was helpful when initially setting it up. Here you can see any errors that come up. If you're wondering why certain photos didn't show up, check library errors. And then settings. Here's where you can specify a lot of the same things that you specified in the Docker Compose file and the environment variables. If you want to enable uploads, downloads, editing, all of that listed here, you can. For libraries, if you want to enable or disable these features. Going into advanced, you can enable debug logs, disable web dev, disable places. Here's where you can disable that if you don't like it showing or tracking where you took your photos. You can enable experimental features, blah, blah, blah. You guys can read. Go ahead and read through these. For images and previews, you can set compressions and max sizes of the JPEGs. Again, feel free to step through all these and change it to your heart's content. Sync. So if you have another Photoprism server set up, you can have it sync to that server here. So I don't have a second one, but if you do have two, you can go ahead and add a server. It's going to ask for that service URL, which means if you're hosting it remotely, you would use your remote address here. If it's on your LAN, you can just use your local IP, set your username and password, and then you will have another Photoprism server ready to sync back and forth. And then some account settings, pretty basic. So yeah, it's good for what it is. I see it as an awesome solution for having the peace of mind of knowing that your photos are backed up from whatever device. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an iPhone. It can be your regular photos from your camera. It can be your iPad photos if you're a grandma. It can be your memes that you've downloaded on your computer. It doesn't matter. This is a spot for all your photos. So I know a lot of people use iCloud or Google Photos for that, and that's perfectly fine. But I know a lot of people out there want to self-host their things and don't want to necessarily have to rely on third-party companies to store a lot of, honestly, their sentimental photos. So this is a good solution for that. One thing noted that I really wish it had was some basic editing features for these photos. Now, I know it's not designed to be a photo editing software, but just some simple things like saturation or adjusting highlights or shadows or even cropping, or maybe just throw us some filters or something to play around with and do some basic recomposition of photos. But again, I wouldn't mark that as really a negative because that's not really what it's designed to do. But again, just something I wish it had. So there we go. It's installed and running on our backup server. Now we need to go into the Photosync app. So go ahead and download that. I've obviously already done it. So let's go ahead and open it. Okay, here we are in the Photosync app, and immediately let's jump in, and it's just going to show you all your photos from your albums in your phone. Let's go into the settings so I can kind of walk through. There's a lot here. This is a very, very impressive app. So you can see feature level is premium. I paid for the premium version. It's honestly really cheap. You have the free version, you have the pro version, and you have the premium version. Free is obviously free, but you can only do manual uploads and you are limited to that 1 megabyte per photo. So it will compress your photos. So the first thing we're going to want to do is configure our access to our Photoprism backup server. So you'll go into here under configure, and here's where you can see all the different ways you can back up your files. This is absolutely crazy. They have everything here. WebDAV, FTP, SMB, Dropbox. You can even use iCloud, Google Photos, Amazon S3, Google Drive, OneDrive, all the different Sony, Nikon, Canon Wi-Fi connection from the camera, Backblaze. And down here you will see Photoprism. So you'll want to go into that, and we will look at the one I have set up now. So again, remember, you're going to want to expose Photoprism to the outside world using a reverse proxy, whether that's using HA proxy or through Nginx Proxy Manager. I have videos for both, again, linked down below. So I've already done that. Let's go into configure. You'll see that I've entered my server URL, as well as my login information and the directory that I want to upload to. And by default, it just uses originals. So down here, destination folder. Here you can see our iPhone one that's created when I upload photos from my iPhone. So you can see what I'm actually using is the root destination folder. And what it's going to automatically do is create a folder for each device uploaded. That's why you saw before in Photoprism, where when I went to folders, I had an iPhone recents. That was automatically created when I uploaded from my iPhone. File names, you can keep the original ones. Wi-Fi, so you can specify if you want it to upload full resolution ones for Wi-Fi. You can specify all the different settings here for when you're connected to Wi-Fi, and you can have different settings for if you're connected to cellular. So if you have a low data plan and you don't want it to upload, videos, then maybe for this, obviously, so by default it's turned off, but maybe I do have really fast cellular internet and I have a really big data cap, boom, I can turn that on. So there are a lot of settings. Like I said, this photo app is very, very impressive. So like I said, I have the premium feature, meaning that auto transfer is available, meaning that if I go into auto transfer, what's going to happen is I can specify a trigger, and the trigger I've specified is when my phone is charging. So when I go to sleep every night, I plug my phone in, it's charging, and you'll see if it's after 1 a.m., then it will begin doing automatic uploads to a target. So you can specify which target you want. I specified my Photoprism one. And so when I plug in my phone every night, when 1 a.m. comes around, 1 a.m., my phone will automatically begin backing up all the photos from that day to Photoprism, which is extremely cool. I mean, this is freaking sweet. So again, you can go down into some more things. They have Siri shortcuts if you want to set those up. You can tell Siri to do it. I mean, every time I dive into this app and find a new feature, I'm honestly blown away by how much there is here. So let me at least show you how to upload manually. So if I go into here and I want to upload this awesome picture of this weird space flavored Coke that I found at the grocery the other day, just click on which photos you want. Click the red button up here. Do you want to do all of them? Do you want to do the new ones, or do you want to do selected? So we're going to do selected. It's going to ask for a target. So you can specify that here. And I want Photoprism, and it is going to do its thing. Bada bing, bada boom. If we go back into Photoprism, just like that, there's the picture. Apparently I like taking pictures of drinks. Just like that, uploaded, and you can see now that I have the premium, it was uploaded in full resolution as opposed to when I was testing out the free version. Again, like I said, you're not limited to just your phone or just your backup server. If you have a tablet, so I have Photosync installed on my iPad, and you can see here, same type of application, looks almost the same. You get more real estate, obviously, for being on an iPad, but so I might have been wrong earlier when I said that it automatically created a folder for my iPhone. I assume that it did because I don't remember doing that, but it's asking me to create a new folder here, so I did. We will upload to iPad, select, and boom, transferred. So let's go back down into library. Let's upload. You can see, okay, yep, that's what happened. I was kind of right. So if we go into folders now, you'll see we have two. We have iPad/iPad because I should have just put it in the default directory instead of an iPad one. So now we got this weird iPad folder. So lesson learned. Oh, I recognize that it's a dog. That's kind of cool. So yeah, the metadata of the photo. So yeah, this is an old photo from 2018. So that's cool. Just like that, it's set up. Now again, you can sync to even a computer. So let's dive into that. On this computer, I have the Photosync app installed. So if we go down here, you can see it's running as this little applet. You can go into settings. I've specified for receiving it that we want to store it in this E drive / photos. So sync selected. Now select computer, and it will search your local network for a computer that it finds the Photosync app on, which it found. Just click it, and boom, just like that, pulled the photo directly from my phone to my computer. So having this ability to just click it, click sync computer, and have it transfer that easily, full resolution, is freaking sweet. So I will definitely continue to be using that. But yeah, again, you can specify as many targets as you want. You can sync them between targets. Go nuts. It's impressive what the setup can actually do, and hosting all of it essentially self-hosted on your own devices just make it that much more convenient. So there you have it. Easy, self-hosted photo backups with organization, AI, and storage features all in one. I was honestly shocked at how easy everything was to set up and how well it worked right out of the gate. Is it perfect? No. I would love to even have some basic photo editing tools like cropping, exposure, highlight, saturation, sliders, or maybe some filters or something, but Also, nested albums would be pretty sweet, so if you guys are listening, maybe check that out. Overall though, this is one of my new favorite services added to my stack and an easy recommendation for anybody looking for solid photo backup solutions. Let me know if you're gonna give it a try or what you're currently using as your backup solution for your phone's camera library. But now we're going to do comment of the week. This comment comes on my Zima board review, which was pretty freaking sweet. Go check that out if you're interested on a tiny x86 based mini server. But this comment comes from my boy Jason over at Jason's Lab, who says, me thinks you should install Untangle or pfSense on it and see how it runs. Do it, man. Good video, by the way. Thank you so much, Jason. Jason runs his own tech YouTube channel, Jason's Lab. He does a lot of untangled content, so if that fits your jam, go check out his content. But yeah, that is a plan for the Zima board. Eventually, I am going to try to replace my SG1100 Netgate box and run pfSense directly on the Zima board to see if we get better performance than Netgate's lowest end hardware, which I'm anticipating that we do. So stay tuned if you want to see that video. But again, thank you for the kind words, Mr. Jason. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Maybe you're already pulling that Docker image like a true nerd. And speaking of nerds, I want to give a shout out to my Patreons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. I'm giving you all 46 radar points. Feel free to support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and telling your friends about that bald guy who kind of looks like Binging with Babish and does tech videos. But if you got this far in the video, I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.